What's going on, everyone? So today I'm very excited because we are back on Force Table. If you guys haven't heard about Force Table, I will leave a link to it down below. But if you subscribe to their Patreon, you can actually get access to AI drafts and pre-releases. Now, today we're doing a draft, and I would love to do more of these drafts, but if I can only get it up against AI, I probably won't do a crazy amount of them for the videos, but I was thinking about doing the draft and then potentially getting other people involved and doing the games against other players that were able to draft decks. Granted, the drafted decks will be up against AI, so it's a little bit different there. Ideally, the draft and the games would all be done up against other players. But right now, as far as I know, there isn't a crazy amount of programs to do that. So this is what we've got today. And I figured I'd just kind of showcase this because a lot of people have not seen drafts before. And I don't know about you all, but one of my favorite things to do is just watch the draft process, kind of see what other people are thinking about each card, what they're thinking about when they're drafting their deck. Even if it is up against AI, I enjoy watching it. So I figured I'd share a video for you all today and see what you all have to say. If you guys want to see more of this, or if you want to see me doing the draft and battling up against players, let me know in the comment section down below. I'm not going to stop our regular premiere content or anything anytime soon, for sure, because I love doing that as well. But maybe sprinkle this in here and there. A big thank you to my patrons over on Patreon. Those are the people that are probably going to, get involved if we decide to do some more drafts. So big thank you to hang out with all of you and supporting the channel. But let's not waste any more time here and let's start our draft. All right, into our first couple of picks with the leaders. For those of you that haven't drafted Star Wars Unlimited yet, each pack you pull out the leader initially and then you draft the pool of leaders first. Now, in person, this would be a little bit different because usually the leaders are, well, you can't put them face down. And so oftentimes you will see little snippets of other leaders to the side, which might determine what leader you want to pick based on the aspects. But for this one, I'm just going to pick what I perceive to be the best. I do think Vigilance is a very strong aspect in set 5 for Limited, simply because of all the force potentials on turn 1, including Secretive Sage, great turn 1 play, one of the cards I'd be looking for. Mother Talzin, great on attack trigger, that's going to be the pick. Obviously, you have 2 Mother Talzins, so, well, that's one option. The other option is Third Sister. I think that Heroism is a little bit stronger than Villainy. So if there was a Heroism leader that was excellent, I might consider that. But to be honest, Talzin and Snoke are what I consider to be the number 1 and number 2 leaders, at least in terms of just kind of overall value and consistency. So I'm going to pick up the Talzin here as our leader. Second one, well, this one's an easy choice because another Talzin, Kanan. I do think Kanan's quite excellent as well, especially more so in draft because you will be able to pick up those creatures and those Spectre units more often. And then we got a Cal Kestis as our third one. So we are going into Vigilance here in terms of leaders. And then Cal Kestis, I do think that both my leaders, we have 1 Heroism, 1 Villainy, which I do like to at least get 1 of each of those if I can, to kind of keep myself open, because I want to be able to pick up the Heroism cards if they're really good that I'm seeing being passed, if there's rares or legendaries that are really good. But I don't think Cal Kestis is nearly as strong as Kanan or Talzin, so I think that's where I'm going to sit. So the first thing I'm going to look at is our rare. We've got ourselves a Heavy Blaster Cannon. Now, I actually do think upgrades are significantly better in Limited. So seeing a Heavy Blaster Cannon is actually really appealing. I do think this is actually a really strong card. If you think about, like, if we go to Talzin Red, Heavy Blaster Cannon is going to be absolutely disgusting on Talzin. Now we essentially get to go ahead and do 4 damage to a unit when you play this. It is just absolutely amazing. So that's really nice. And then you get the +2/+2 in the future. But in the interest of staying open, because we have our leaders be essentially the Vigilance here, I'm really liking Chirrut. Chirrut with the Force is a really nice payoff, and I'm going to shrink myself down here a little bit. Actually, you know what? I'm going to move myself over to the other side. Oh, look at that. We've got Chirrut here. Nice Vigilance, 3/5. It can use the Force quite well. Is a Force unit in himself. Whirlwind of Power actually looks pretty good as well. I like that removal effect. Inquisitor's Lightsaber, I'm a little bit more partial to upgrades in Limited. I think Last Wounds can be okay, certainly playable. Ravening Gundark, also playable. And then Tukata, that's a creature for Talzin. But I think I'm just going to go with the Chirrut, even though Heavy Blaster Cannon's really, really solid. I'm going to keep myself over them, but I do think Heavy Blaster Cannon's probably a little bit more powerful than Chirrut. But we'll take the Chirrut. Next up, what do we got? So it looks like our AI here took the rare. So the cards I'm looking at, Secretive Sage, I mentioned this earlier with Vigilance. This is the type of card that I'm really looking for in terms to generate early game force. So that's really nice. Xian Flurry could be decent if you have enough force units, but you do kind of need bigger force units. Jocasta Nu can move upgrades around. It is a playable. BD1 also playable, but it is in Cunning, so that would guarantee kind of a secondary aspect for us. Also, Chira is neutral, which is really, really good as well. So is Secretive Sage. So I think even though like Heirloom Lightsaber is really nice, and if we could like guarantee that we were Heroism, I'd probably pick up Heirloom Lightsaber over Secretive Sage. I think I'm going to pick up the Secretive Sage. Heirloom Lightsaber, I don't think will come back. I think what we have the chance of coming back is like maybe Ceresu Stance, maybe Paladin Training Corvette, and that could be interesting. But Secretive Sage goes with the whole kind of game plan of the Vigilance, got the Force tag. I think that's going to be a guaranteed pickup here. Next up, we've got or we do have a rare here. It's the Drengir Spawn, which I'm not really super excited about. Really low powered unit. We have the Bolstered Endurance. This one is nice because we do have a lot of Force units. And already our 2 picks are Force and Force. And then in Kanan and Talzin's case, both of these are Force units. So I'm actually really leaning towards Bolstered Endurance. It's going to keep us in Vigilance, which again, keeps us open. And that's one of the things with draft. In my first few picks, I'm going to pick up the kind of reasonably power level cards, but the cards that are open. Very, very open. I love Jedi Consular. I think this card's really excellent, but you do need to attack first, so it does lose some of its luster in limited. So, and that also guarantees into a second aspect and is heroism, so it's definitely not as guaranteed to play. I think Relic Scavenger is actually pretty okay. I do think Will of the Force can be decent. Hunting Nexu, obviously for Kanan, but here I think I'm just going to take the Bolstered Endurance. Again, I am really enjoying upgrades. Okay, so now we got a couple of options here. Again, I'm leaning towards Vigilance just because that keeps us the most open, but there are a couple of cards here that I've actually really grown to like. Knight of Ren, obviously just a really nice statted unit. Lorsan Tekka is just okay. Perfectly fine turn 1 play. If you have another unique unit, it can give you some nice value. But Sand Trooper Cavalry, this is a card that has been really impressive to me. Just attacking some units or, you know, kind of just putting an upgrade on it, just getting the grit to really scale up your damage. Jedi Guardian's totally fine. Talzin's Assassin with the Force is incredible. And we do have a Force turn 1 play. We do have Chirrut. We are playing Talzin, which works well with Talzin's Assassin. There's also Grappling Guardian, which I do think is really good. So I think it's between the Grappling Guardian or Talzin's Assassin. Grappling Guardian keeps us more open because it can go in Kanan or Talzin. And then you also get that removal effect, but it's very expensive. So 7-drop, totally reasonable to play, and I would probably want a couple of more expensive plays, but I think Talzin's Assassin, it's the Force tag, it's cheaper, I'd rather keep it a little bit more cheaper. It works perfectly with what the kind of strategy that we've got going on with our first couple of picks, and I'm okay with leaning towards Talzin because I do think Talzin's a little bit more powerful than Kanan. So I think this is the first pick we're going to kind of speculate towards being potentially a little bit more villainy focused. And ooh, okay, so this is a great next pack as well. Lots of options for us. We have Drain Essence, which is amazing in Talzin. It's going to be a 3 damage removal event, but we also have another Secretive Sage. And I think I'm just going to pick up the Secretive Sage. If we're able to get a couple more of these upgrades and be able to kind of upgrade up the Secretive Sages, we now have shielded units that are upgraded. And there's not as much removal in this format as some other formats that we've played in. So I'm actually really happy with that. Watto is actually okay. You can draw some extra cards. Generally, your opponent's not going to want you to put experience on it. And drawing some extra cards can be decent. Night Sister Warrior is okay as well. It is a Force unit, but it doesn't have anything to really go with it besides the fact that you get to draw a card, which isn't as valuable in limited as some other options that you can get, which is like a Secretive Sage, just a 2/2 shielded, which I think I'm going to lean towards. But I really like Drain Essence. And I'd rather that than the Jedi Consular, even though we could have 2 of them by now. Lots of Force potential here. Even the Padawan Starfighter is intriguing to me, but I think I'd rather take another Force unit to just help us continue to utilize potentially Mother Talzin's action here. That's the name of the game. So here, I think this is the first time where I'm not actually sure what I want to pick up. So Gungan Warrior, Heroism, 3/2 Shield Restore 1. I actually really like this card. Exegol Patroller, nice aggressive space unit. And we have Tauntaun, give a shield token to a damaged non-vehicle unit. So you have to have a damaged unit. I don't think that works all that well with Secretive Sage. Strike Ship is okay, but I think I'd rather have Exegol Patroller over Strike Ship in most scenarios. And I'd rather be in command over aggression. There's also Kadu, which is 4 resource 4/4. Kit Fisto's Ether Sprite, but that's aggression heroism, which we're even leaning towards villainy right now. I think I'm going to just go with the Exegol Patroller, and that one's probably not something that we're going to be like super diving into. Okay, here we've got Attune Fear Knock, which I do think is excellent in Kanan. We have another Exegol Patroller, so I could double down on the villainy kind of game plan and have multiple space units that are really, really strong in the early game. There's also Vance, or not Vance, Vinay, which can go ahead and give experience tokens on friendly units. I'm not going to have a ton of experience tokens to defeat, so I don't know if that's really that exciting. I could also just pick up Dagoyan Master as a neutral one, and that could potentially draw some cards when he's played and when he's defeated, but it also just is a 5 resource 5/5. I actually think I'm just going to pick up the Exegol Patroller. By picking that up, it gives us a ton of amazing options for Talzin because we have such a great curve. Couple of 4 different 2 resource plays that I'm very happy with. So this next pack is the first pack where I'm like, dang, Caloran back this late. Now, I don't know how the AI is programmed, but in paper, this one would have been picked up significantly faster. But we also have Old Daka. And we do have the Talzin's Assassin, so a little bit of a combination there. Has the Force unit, Force tag, has a 6/6 body. Even though Caloran Beck is amazing, we have double Exegol Patroller and Talzin's Assassin. I am just going to solidify my kind of leaning towards the villainy side of things. So I think I'll just pick that up. Heavy Blaster Cannon coming back around. I am totally okay with picking that up. That is an amazing one to have. Now we have the Heirloom Lightsaber. Again, this is where it's like, you know, who knows what my opponents are really doing in these games, because I think Relic Scavenger is going to be a little bit better because the picks are kind of all over the place. Grappling Guardian came back, great. Padawan Starfighter, probably a reasonable play as well. And these are the types of cards that probably wouldn't necessarily wheel if you are in a typical draft. But now we get to move on to the next pack, and we get to start off with Mystic Monastery as our rare here, which, well, is not something that I necessarily want. I actually rather have the Force base with double Secretive Sage, Talzin's Assassin, and all that stuff. Here, the card I'm really looking at is actually Torrent Attack. I know Secretive Sage is something that I want. Priestesses of the Force is actually really strong as well. Maybe I should go Priestesses of the Force, but I don't know, because this one, I mean, this one's really strong if you're getting to the late game, but we actually have a pretty early game focused deck right now. I don't know. I want to stay towards Vigilance. I think Sorceress Blast is amazing, by the way. That could be a reason. I haven't really solidified my secondary aspect. We're definitely in Vigilance for sure. So maybe it's just more reliable to go with Secretive Sage. I think Torrent Attack is a huge powerhouse. You know what? I'm gonna pick up the Priestess of the Force. I don't play with this card in Limited, but I do think this is one of those cards that is absolutely amazing if you're able to get it down and you actually get to that spot. So we got Zuckuss as the legendary double cunning, obviously completely unplayable for our deck. This one, Supremacy Tie, I think is just the easy pickup here. There's not really anything else that I'm really excited about. The Heavy Missile Gunship I think is pretty good, but again, staying in Vigilance and staying open for any sort of really nice thing that comes towards us. And here, I mean, we have a Drain Essence. That's going to be the easiest pickup in the world for us. Another Supremacy Tie, but what else do we have here? Tragedy of Plagueis. This one is awkward because it does defeat a unit, but our opponent chooses the unit, which I'm not really a huge fan of. I think I'd rather have another Supremacy Tie. It does a really nice job of protecting our Exegol Patrollers. Another Tragedy of Plagueis. I don't really know what I want here. I mean, I guess I could pick up a name. I think Tragedy of Plagueis is actually better than Nameless Terror here. I'll pick up one of those. It could be potentially pretty decent. Another Drain Essence. I'm actually just going to pick that up. Another 3 damage removal event. Although Whirlwind of Power is -3/-3. Actually, I think Whirlwind of Power is a little bit more exciting because this can combo with the Talzin to really shrink down units. And then the 3 damage might not actually finish out. And it's actually 2 damage plus gaining the force, which we can use for Talzin's action. And we actually do have a lot of force units because we're drafting. So we do have a lot of Secretive Sages that can really pump in the force. And we did pick up a couple of 3 drops, which I do like a lot because that's going to help us fix our curve a little bit. Graceful Purgle, nice little Sentinel in space. Awakened Specters, this is just a 4 resource 4/5. I think I'll just pick that up. Totally reasonable play here. Again, we haven't even picked up our second aspect, but Magistrate Scout does look pretty nice, like a curve filler. And here, I mean, I'm going to pick up another Secretive Sage. I think this card is quite excellent for what we're trying to do with the deck. Here, I suppose we'll pick up a Relic Scavenger. It's the strongest card here. Another Magistrate Scout. Don't, again, know what we're even going to do in our secondary aspect, but it may not be that we need to go into a secondary aspect here because Vigilance has just been so solid for us. Okay, well, this might change that direction. We do have a Marin here, and I do think Marin's actually really solid, especially with it being a force unit, especially with having Talzin. There's another Whirlwind of Power, there's another Drain Essence. I think Marin's pretty solid. I think Sorceress Blast is also pretty good. But I think Marin is actually really powerful. So I'm going to pick that up because we also have the Heavy Blaster Cannon, which I do think is really good as well. And we could even play the Strike Ship. That versus potentially going Knight of Ren. I mean, I could just pick up another Vigilance card because I do think the Whirlwind of Power is really good. Maybe I just go with Whirlwind of Power because I don't know if Exegol Patroller versus, I mean, Heavy Blaster Cannon is really good too. No, you know what? I think Marin is high enough power to where if we end up in aggression, I would regret not picking that up. So I am very happy to pick that up here. Lightsaber Throw, not enough lightsabers to really utilize that. So here I think we'll just pick up another Whirlwind of Power. I think Calm in the Storm is actually really nice, but none of the other units are really appealing to me. Okay, we got Jedi Trials. This one is going to kind of scale to a pretty extreme degree. We have another Whirlwind of Power. I mean, we could go really heavy on removal and just kind of dominate the board that way with Talzin. I think I'm totally okay with that. I'm just going to pick up another Whirlwind of Power and kind of go in that direction. And if we're going to go heavy on the removal, I like getting down early plays, so really high-powered space units so they're evasive. But also Cure Wounds to heal up. Talzin has actually been pretty good, but I think going in for a bunch of cheap plays and then backing them up with removal events is going to be really quite good, especially when we have Talzin to kind of dominate the board when she comes down. Another Caloran back, dang. Okay, that's crazy. Let's go ahead and just pick up Fallen Jedi. I'd rather have another Force unit to make sure we can get those Whirlwind of Powers active. And here we'll pick up the Torrent Attack. This is a great pickup here. We did already pick up one of those Cure Wounds in the previous pack, so we can get some healing going. Another Exegol Patroller versus Hyperspace Wayfarer. I think just the other Exegol Patroller is just going to be amazing. And here we have Knight of Ren versus Drain Essence. I think I'll pick up a Knight of Ren. I have a lot of removal in this event in this deck, so I'm pretty happy with picking up that and then moving on. I'll pick up Jedi Trials as well, because, well, I mean, this can scale. Yeah, I think this is really good on Talzin. I think I'm okay with just playing that, actually. Here, I think, I suppose I could take the Praetorian Guard. It seems like a perfectly reasonable play. So, yeah, our deck, it's really going to be early game focused. It's going to be all about, you know, getting down early units and then going and pumping them up, or not about pumping them up, but getting early game units down and then backing them up with removal events. So let's go ahead and build the deck here. We'll sort by cost. Obviously, all 3 Secretive Sages going in. Knight of Ren. I do want the Fallen Jedi. I think Chariot's going to be solid. I think Talzin's going to be solid. I think Daka's going to be solid. I want the Torrent Attack, and I want the Priestesses of the Force for sure. Obviously, all 4 of the Exegol Patrollers, very, very cheap deck, plus the Padawan Starfighter, plus the Supremacy Tie, and the Grappling Guardian. Love all of those. The Bolstered Endurance is going to come in. 1 Cure Wounds, 1 Drain Essence, 3 Whirlwind of Powers, and I suppose I could put Tragedy of Plagueis in because we have so much removal that this might actually be pretty good. We can take out a big event with it, or a big unit with it. What do I have left to fill in my deck? Well, we need 5 more cards. We do have a bunch of choices. Those are the ones that I absolutely want. So then it comes down to what other units do I have? So right now, we have a pretty high focus on early game. Our 2-drop slot is massive. I think we could go with probably another Unawakened Specters here. It also is not bad with Old Daka, because if this does take damage, we can kind of refresh it, which is pretty cool. I don't mind the Magistrate Scouts, so we might play one of those, but I think actually we want to lean towards a little bit more expensive plays because we have a very high focus on early game units, so I think I'm happy with the Relic Scavengers here. That puts us at 3 5-drops, which I think is fine. We have 1, 2... How many 3-drops? Knight of Red and Fallen Jedis are only 3-drops. I think Magistrate Scout as one of to fill out our curve makes sense. Before I fill in with like another Relic Scavenger or an Awakened Specters, I just want to quickly check here what our other cards we have are. Is there any out of aspect card that I'd want to play? Jedi Trials was one that I am interested in. And I could even go with the Heirloom Lightsaber on Talzin, which could be pretty good. I mean, do I want to pay 4 for that? I mean, I could also put this on a Secretive Sage, which isn't that bad. I think actually that's better. No, I actually think that's actually pretty good with the Secretive Sages, with them being shielded. I think that's really good. Even Jedi Trials on a Secretive Sage isn't that bad. It's going to start scaling really out of control. Because it doesn't stop at 4 upgrades. Like, it doesn't stop at 4 experience token. Every single turn you're getting an experience token, so that scales out of control really quickly. So I'm actually happy with playing a couple of upgrades with how many shielded units we have. It's going to be pretty solid. That gives us 8 space units, which is kind of crazy. Some nice Sentinels, Grappling Guardian. We have a bunch of removal. We've got triple Whirlwind of Power and a Drain Essence, so for early game, and then a Tragedy of Plagueis for late. Cure Wounds I've been pretty impressed with. It's just going to heal up, our random Talzin or anything. It's actually been pretty good as I've experienced in Limited. So I'm happy with this. Let's just go ahead and save and let's play some games, huh? All right, into game number 1, and we went ahead and mulliganed our first hand. Here, I do like Chirrut. I think Tragedy of Plagueis is going to be less exciting for me than the Relic Scavenger. And we've got our Secretive Sage turn 1, which, again, I am very, very happy with. I am extremely happy with. Let's go ahead and take initiative here. And, ooh, we've got ourselves a really nice curve here. I think I'm going to Bolstered Endurance up the Secretive Sage here. I'm just gonna go for it. So they're gonna deal 2 damage, make that a 3/5. That's fine. I'm just gonna attack into base, ignore the Witch of the Mist here, and then we will just play out another Secretive Sage. So we have a 3/5 Secretive Sage and a 2/2 Secretive Sage. Here we have Fallen Jedi. We're gonna resource, but I mean Chirrut Imwe, Shien, it's gonna come out in ambush. Oh wow. Just to get rid of the shield token, huh? Okay. This is an easy Chirrut. Chirrut's going to... Oh, they're going to deal 3 damage to it, huh? Interesting. What do I want to do now? Well, I think I will just kill off Witch of the Mist. And then we can use the Force here on Talzin to shrink down the Adept, to kill it with Secretive Sage, get the Force back, and we don't even get to lose our shield token. I wanted to do it that way because otherwise, if my opponent attacked Chirrut, he would have had 1 extra damage on him, and I'd rather just keep him pretty low in damage right now. Resource one of the Exegol Patrollers. Priestess of the Force looks like it could be potentially really good here. I mean, our current situation in the game is absolutely disgusting. Like, this is kind of the whole problem with the shielded tokens early. They can go ahead and deploy Grand Inquisitor here, but I think what I'll do is I will just play Whirlwind of Power on that Grand Inquisitor, and they will take initiative here, which is totally fine because now what we can do is use Talzin's action, shrink down the the Fallen Jedi. And then here, what we can do is I will attack Grand Inquisitor and then shrink down the Fallen Jedi even further. And what we can do after that is attack into Grand Inquisitor, kill that, attack into Secretive Sage, or attack with the Secretive Sage into the Fallen Jedi, kill that. And then we can attack in with Chirrut and hit the base for 3. And I mean, this is exactly kind of what our deck wanted to do. Put a bunch of space units down, or not space units, put a bunch of force units down and go to town with kind of what we've just done. We have Priestess of the Force following on. We can give 5 shield tokens out to everything. So now we'll just attack. My opponent already took initiative. What I'll do here is I will just attack base and shrink down that Life Wind Sage. And then we will attack base. I don't even care about their unit here. We just attack base. Because we will have the force. And so we can make sure that when they attack the Chirrut, it doesn't actually kill him. And we just drew an old Daka and a Whirlwind of Power, and we can play Priestess of the Force now. So now what we can do is play Priestess of the Force, and we can use the Force, shield token, shield token, shield token, shield token. I guess a shield token. Like, it doesn't even matter, right? Like, the game is completely over. It is absolutely incredible. Our deck is just running on all cylinders right now. Yeah, our opponent, they had a pretty bad turn 1 play in Witch of the Mist, and then they Shean Flurried out Adept of Anger, so not like an extremely powerful start from them, but our deck worked exactly how we wanted it to. Into our next game, up against Snoke. I think Snoke's actually really powerful. By the way, our AI opponents are going to have a little bit extra HP on the base as a way to get progressively more difficult. I think this hand is an immediate mulligan. Bolstered Endurance doesn't work on Padawan Starfighter or Supremacy Tie, and we just kind of have a little bit of an awkward hand. I'd much rather have a different turn 1 play. It's actually crazy to not pick up a turn 1 play in this deck, but you know what? Sometimes that happens. Relic Scavenger, Cure Wounds going to be the resources here, and we will just take initiative, but not exactly super excited about what has transpired here. Resource the Padawan Starfighter. We'll get Magistrate Scout down. Talzin, obviously really good against Exegol Patroller, but my opponent using Snoke's action, very, very smart to go ahead and do so. And yeah, what do we want to do here? Grappling Guardian could knock out that Exegol Patroller. I mean, what's interesting here is we kind of have to deal with one of these two immediately. Otherwise, they're just going to get bigger and bigger. So let's go Whirlwind of Power on Exegol Patroller. Missing our turn 1 play here is just horrible for us. I'm going to ignore my opponent's Sith Legionnaire. They have an upgrade on it, the Inquisitor's Lightsaber, which is really, really solid. And they're going to buff that up, which is going to really do some work here up against us. Okay, Grappling Guardian, probably going to be the resource here. We don't have a force unit, or they don't have a force unit, so we can't ambush with Torrent Attack. I'm going to Secretive Sage plus Whirlwind of Power here. Drengir spawn here, huh? All right, we're going to Whirlwind of Power the Sith Legionnaire to make it a little bit less power here. Then I think I'm just going to attack in to their Drengir with this Magistrate Scout. Get the Restore 2. They can decide what they want to do with this attack with a Sith Legionnaire. We can deploy our Talzin now. And now what we will do is just attack into the Sith Legionnaire and give that -1/-1 so that we just kill it off. We do get the Force token, which means that we can potentially do something pretty cool with like Chirrut. Bolstered Endurance is really nice. Putting that on Talzin is going to be a pretty good one. They're going to go ahead and trade off here with their Drengir spawn. That's fine. I'm going to go ahead and play Bolstered Endurance on my Talzin. Just buff it up a little bit, and then I will now play Torrent Attack because they deployed Snoke to go ahead and ambush the Snoke for 5. They have their own Torrent Attack, which is really good, actually. They're going to ambush the Secretive Sage. I think this is a situation where if my opponent hit Talzin, it would have been really a lot better for that. I mean, not really, actually, because we could have just attacked Snoke and then kill both of them in one go. So maybe they should have just killed and traded off with Torrent Attack. I do think their Torrent attack was way worse than ours, so that's something that's really nice. But here we will just trade off. I'm just gonna trade Snoke for Secretive Sage here. And then Village Tender, huh? All right, I will then go ahead and just knock out Torrent attack, I suppose. We'll take 4 damage on our Talzin, but now we're left with Torrent attack and the Talzin, which is really nice. And if my opponent has 0 answers to this, then we can go Priestess of the Force and nope, they're just going to knock out the 2 units. Okay, totally reasonable here. Let's just go ahead and play out Chirrut. Put up a Sentinel body here. They got a Dagoyan Master. I will attack into base. Give the Dagoyan Master -1/-1, I suppose. They can't use the Snoke action. We'll see what they have to follow up. I think Whirlwind of Power is really good. I think I'd rather have Tragedy of Plagueis and Whirlwind of Power here. Okay, let's go ahead and I suppose we will Whirlwind of Power the Hive Defense Wing. And then we can attack into the base and then shrink down that Hive Defense Wing so we can kill it. We can also then play the Tragedy of Plagueis. Doesn't matter which unit, we're just trying to use it as a removal event, and then we'll attack into the base for 3. Still have the Priestess of the Force to potentially give us a lot of value here, and I think now is when we're going to do it. I'm going to resource the 4-drop so I can get more value from my shield tokens here. They have Vinay, and now we have to play Priestess of the Force, utilize the shield token, and we can give shield token to each one of our units, which is going to be quite fantastic. Pump up the Vinay. Now we get to attack into base, and now my opponent's in a situation where, I mean, they can't really deal with the Chirrut here. So really good stuff there. We'll pass. Keep on going. Nope, don't need to shrink down the attacker because my opponent is just going to absorb. My shield token is just going to absorb all the attacks from the opponent here. Attacking for 6 with the Priestesses of the Force. We will shrink down the Dagoyan Master here. And now we can attack in with Talzin and shrink down their Outer Rim Mystic. Unleash Rage, huh? Doesn't matter. We are going to win the game. And this one was a little bit more tricky, and you could see the power of Snoke in this game, by the way. Snoke almost clutched it with how many experience tokens they put on their units. But we were able to get there with a little bit of an awkward start because he didn't have a turn 1 play. So that was with a no turn 1 play. But the Whirlwind of Force, this is why removal is so important, because if they were just able to continue to stack experience tokens and I had no way to answer the Exegol Patroller immediately, we'd have taken so much damage it would have been impossible to win. So really good stuff there. All right, into our next game. We've got Secretive Sage, and then a bunch of 4 and 5 drops. I think we can mulligan because we have, is it 4 Exegol Patrollers and 3 Secretive Sage? So we are almost like guaranteed to have a good play here. And this is actually a really powerful hand. I'm going to keep the Jedi Trials because what I want to be doing here is playing out the Secretive Sage, and then I want to be putting Jedi Trials on that Secretive Sage. That is the goal here. So that's what I'm going to go for. My opponent going to attack the base. That's fine. We get to play Jedi Trials on our Secretive Sage, and then they took initiative, which means they have nothing. So the game feels pretty rough for them at this point. We'll pass. We have the Force. We can resource this Knight of Ren. We'll have the Talzin's Assassin plus Mother Talzin as actions. So what we can do is use Talzin's action, give -1/-1 to the Pelimoto. They took initiative again. Oh, man. Can I, like, restart this game? Wow, this is such a disappointing final. This is, I'm just gonna, like, play horribly and not even utilize the Force because now we've won. Like, now we've won. In this turn, what we would have done is attacked, get the Force, use the Force to kill off Pelimoto. But, I mean, it feels like the game is a little too easy. Feels like the game's a little just too easy. And then we would have followed that up with an old Daka play. Like, that's incredible. That we can even do that. So now what we can do is Talzin's Assassin kill Pelimoto. And then we can attack, or we can play Old Daka, defeat the Talzin, play it from our discard, use the Force, kill Purge Trooper. How crazy is this, by the way? How crazy is this? Attack with the Secretive Sage, which they had to use 2 actions to defeat it. Use Talzin's action, give -1/-1 to the Grand Inquisitor, deploy Talzin, and then finish off Grand Inquisitor with the Talzin only taking 1 damage. How disgusting was this, guys? This was insane. This is probably our best curve yet. And we even have the Cure Wounds to come down and maybe give us a little bit extra value. I'm going to resource the Torrenta because I want to deploy multiple units on this turn. So I'm going to deploy the Awakened Specters and the Secretive Sage here. And then we can attack in with Talzin's Assassin into the Nameless Terror. Remove it from the board. And then next turn we have the Priestesses of the Force. And we still have Cure Wounds to heal up some damage if we want to. Oh, never mind. I guess Drain Essence isn't as interesting anymore. Yeah, Priestesses of the Force comes down, and I mean, what? Look at this, guys. That's insane. This is insane. Oh my gosh, our hand is disgusting. All right, well, GG. This last game, our opponent missed a couple of turns there, so wasn't really as close of a game, nearly, but still, I mean, our deck really went on all cylinders there. Cards like Talzin's Assassin are just absolute bombs in this type of format. Things like Whirlwind of Power, really excellent removal events. Because Vigilance has so many more Force cards on turn 1 that I'm more excited about. Like Karas, Secretive Sage, any kind of deck that has a turn 1 really powerful Force unit. Command also has this. I mean, Gunji's like uncommon, so that's not even necessarily the case. And a couple other cards are like rares or uncommons on turn 1. But the nice thing about Vigilance is it's got the turn 1 Secretive Sage, which is one of the premier units in the game. 2/2 shielded is amazing, and it's got the Force tag, which is extremely relevant. And you can see there, we just kind of rolled through each one of our opponents. The only one that came close was Snoke, and that was because Snoke had such a disgusting leader ability. I do think Snoke is the most powerful leader in limited and pre-release in general, but absolutely amazing, and draft in general, but crushed him, absolutely just crushed, and wasn't even really that close. The overall strategy of our deck, being able to utilize the combination of Talzin's action plus the extra kind of minus X's that we had, really made it so we can make valuable trades. We had some really amazing removal events, a really nice curve with multiple early plays, and then backed it up with a bunch of other stuff that can interact and sentinel our opponent. Very surprised that in that one game we missed turn 1 play. We have 7 turn 1 plays in the deck. 4 Exegol Patrollers and Secretive Sage, and we also have the Drain Essence, which is a totally reasonable turn 1 play as well. That's 8 turn 1 plays. How crazy is that? What are the chances if we mulligan here? Or what are the chances that we actually miss a turn 1 play? I gotta pull up the hyper geometric calculator here, but the chances gotta be really low. We have 8 successes. We have an 87.4% chance of hitting a turn 1 play in the deck. That's really high. So it's possible. It's possible to miss. Just goes to show you how important it is to have multiple turn 1 plays in the game, right? If you're fighting Snoke, you miss turn 1, and you don't have the crazy amount of removal that we do, they just pile on their Exegol Patroller, and then they just win the game, right? That's just kind of how that happens. But, of course, that was draft. Let me know what you think, guys. I know we just fought AI. I know like the games themselves are AI. I think the draft is really cool. I think talking about the cards is really cool. I'd love to be able to do the draft, talk about all the picks I'm making, and then find our way into some player games so that at least each one of us has a AI drafted pool. So they're all very strong. It's pretty balanced in that way. but then also you're playing against real players that make a little bit better decisions. And you don't have this like weird, like everyone's got 36 HP instead of 28 just because they're AI. I think that would be a lot more cool and fun. So let me know, and I will try to set up some more if you guys are interested in that. I know I love drafting, so it would be super fun to kind of make that a mainstay. And I just want to say a big thank you to Force Table, guys. If you haven't checked out their Patreon, I will leave a link to it down below if you guys want to subscribe to it, just so you can go ahead and access these AI drafts and pre-release, or even at least just experiencing the draft and pre-release experience, and experiencing like, okay, why am I picking this card over this card, and why am I, or what pick should I be making in this situation. This is by far the format that I've had the most time spent in, not just because of Star Wars Unlimited. Actually, I've spent more time in Premiere in Star Wars Unlimited, but mainly because of any other trading card game. The format I'm playing is limited. It's draft. So Magic the Gathering, I almost exclusively play draft at this point. I used to play a lot of standard and modern, but now it's just draft because I'm playing Premiere in Star Wars Unlimited. And I'd love, absolutely love, please, FFG, please make a Magic Arena, make something to play this game online. I know it's a far hope. I know we're still playing on like Carabas and things like that, but I would absolutely love if we could see a program like that where we can interact with players, collect our collections, and do all that stuff. I know some people are against it, but at least in terms of the overall enjoyment of my experience, I would love to see something like that, at least for drafts, right? Anyways, thanks for watching, everyone, and I'll see you off the next one.